Opened the door and suddenly a hard hit to his head. Taehyung gasped. The world spun and everything went dark. He fell unconscious on the floor. That's when Taehyung slowly opened his eyes. Everything around him was cold. His hands were tied, his legs too. Even his mouth was covered. He tried to move in panic and somehow removed the cloth from his mouth. That's when he noticed a letter beside him. With shaking hands, he read it. If no one comes to save you, you will die tonight. His breath stopped because he was already near the edge of a cliff. Suddenly, the ground beneath him started sliding. Taehyung shut his eyes tightly. This is the end. And then darkness. When he opened his eyes again, his vision was blurry, but slowly he saw his mother crying beside him. Jenny was there too, and Yoongi. Even his father stood silently nearby. Taehyung slowly sat up in shock. That's when his family told them, "It's been 2 days. You were unconscious, and Bogum saved you." Taehyung froze hearing that name. Later, his mother carefully helped him stand up. Even though his body was still weak, Taehyung insisted on going back to the military camp. Before leaving, his mother handed him a small tiffin container. "Give this to Bogum," she said softly. "It's a thank you gift." Taehyung quietly nodded and walked towards the camp. The moment he entered, "Taehyung!" Seok-jin suddenly ran towards him and hugged him tightly. "Where were you? Are you okay? Do you know how worried everyone was?" Taehyung smiled weakly, and without wasting another second, he hurried inside the camp. The moment Taehyung entered the military camp, his eyes immediately found Bogum, but Bogum was shirtless. Taehyung instantly turned around in shock, his ears turning red from embarrassment. Meanwhile, Bogum quickly wore a white shirt and laughed softly.
Taehyung, come here.
The moment Taehyung turned back, Bogum pulled him into a warm hug. "I'm glad you are okay." Taehyung slowly handed him the tiffin container his mother packed.
My mother told me to give this to you. It's a thank you gift.
Bogum smiled softly while taking it. Days slowly passed by, but Taehyung's eyes were always searching for only one person, Captain Jeon. Yet, he hadn't seen him even once, not for days. And then one afternoon, Taehyung noticed Bogum sitting alone on a bench. His face looked anxious, worried, lost in thoughts. Taehyung slowly walked towards him. "Bogum, is something wrong?" At first, Bogum shook his head, but Taehyung softly smiled. "You can tell me anything." Bogum stayed silent for a few seconds before finally speaking. "What I am about to say is something that person never wanted you to know." Taehyung frowned in confusion, and then Bogum finally said it. "The person who saved you that night was Captain Jeon." Taehyung's eyes widened. Bogum slowly continued. "Captain Jeon carried you out from the forest himself. Even while carrying you, his legs was injured badly. He even collapsed to his knees once. But he still didn't let go of you." Taehyung felt his heartbeat shaking. Bogum lowered his eyes. "When he finally reached the camp, I was one of the guarding soldiers there. I ran towards him immediately. And Captain Jeon handed you to me." Taehyung couldn't even speak anymore. Bogum's voice became quieter. "He told me to take you home safely. And he told everyone that I was the one who saved you, not him." Taehyung slowly looked down, unable to process everything. Meanwhile, Bogum continued. "After that, all the doctors and nurses rushed towards Captain Jeon. His injuries were serious. He was in so much pain, but he still stayed silent." Taehyung's eyes slowly started filling with tears. And the next day, I entered Captain Jeon's office. He was covered in bandages. Yet, the first thing he told me was, "Don't tell Taehyung anything. Everyone should believe Bogum saved him." Bogum slowly looked at Taehyung. "And even after all that, Captain Jeon still protected you from afar." Without wasting another second, Taehyung ran inside the military camp. He pushed open Captain Jeon's office door loudly. And there he was, Captain Jeon, standing near the window quietly. Taehyung's eyes were already filled with tears. In anger, he grabbed a pillow nearby and threw it at Jungkook. "Why didn't you tell me?" Jungkook looked slightly stunned. Taehyung walked closer immediately, still crying. And then carefully, he started checking Jungkook's wounds one by one. His bandaged arms, his bruises, every injury. Taehyung's hands were trembling. Then his eyes fell on Jungkook's injured knee, the same leg where the bullet had hit him. Taehyung lowered his head quietly. That's when Jungkook finally spoke softly. "I'm sorry for not telling you." Taehyung slowly looked up, and for the first time in days, he saw Jungkook smiling softly. Taehyung completely froze, because all he could think was, how can someone look this handsome while smiling? Without even realizing it, Taehyung suddenly hugged Jungkook tightly. Jungkook became completely stunned, but then he slowly realized Taehyung was still crying, because he could hear the soft sniffles against his chest. And after a few seconds, Jungkook hugged him back. They stayed like that quietly, maybe minutes, maybe hours. Neither of them knew anymore. Then suddenly, Jungkook spoke near Taehyung's ear. "So you said you like me, right?" Taehyung immediately broke the hug and stepped back in shock. His eyes widened completely. And then Jungkook smiled teasingly. "I like you too." Taehyung looked completely frozen. But the next second, "I'm just kidding." Jungkook chuckled softly. Taehyung instantly became embarrassed and turned away. While leaving the office, his eyes suddenly noticed a paper lying on Jungkook's desk. Written on it was, "Taehyung, edge of forest cliff." Taehyung's expression slowly changed. That night, Taehyung opened his diary once again, and under the dim candlelight, he wrote softly, "Captain Jeon was the one who saved me, and he looks dangerously handsome when he smiles." The next morning, Taehyung quietly entered Captain Jeon's office. Jungkook was sitting there calmly reading a book. The moment he looked up, Taehyung showed his boxy smile proudly and lifted a first aid kit. "I learned first aid," Taehyung said excitedly. "So let me treat your injuries." Jungkook stared at him silently for a few seconds, and then he slowly started unbuttoning his shirt. Taehyung's cheeks instantly turned red. Why are you removing your shirt?" Jungkook replied calmly, "The other ones are fine, but the injury near my abs isn't." And the moment Jungkook opened his shirt, Taehyung froze, seeing the deep wound. Carefully, he opened the first aid kit with trembling hands, then slowly started wrapping fresh bandage around Jungkook's waist and abs. Taehyung's eyes slowly filled with tears while treating him, because only now he realized how badly Jungkook was hurt while saving him. Taehyung slowly looked up at Jungkook's face, and Jungkook was already looking at him quietly. That's when someone suddenly knocked on the office door. Jungkook immediately buttoned his shirt back. The person standing outside was Dong Jin, the same man accused in RJ Walker's case. Dong Jin slowly pointed towards Taehyung. "I need to speak with him." Taehyung became nervous immediately. He slowly looked towards Jungkook, and Jungkook gave him a soft, assuring smile. So Taehyung quietly followed Dong Jin outside into the hallway. But suddenly, Dong Jin started shaking badly. His breathing became unstable, and then he suddenly started crying. Taehyung became scared seeing him like that. Then Dong Jin suddenly grabbed Taehyung's hand tightly, and with trembling lips, he confessed, "I was the one who hit your head that day." Taehyung's eyes widened in shock, but before he could say anything, a gunshot echoed through the hallway, and Dong Jin collapsed on the floor, covered in blood. Taehyung froze completely in fear. The office door suddenly burst open. Jungkook immediately rushed out, pulled Taehyung back against him protectively, and dragged him inside the office. Because Jungkook knew one thing clearly, Taehyung was terrified of blood. Before stepping outside again, Jungkook looked back at Taehyung once quietly. Then he locked the office door from outside and disappeared into the hallway. The soldiers searched the entire camp that day. Every room, every corner, every weapon was checked carefully. By evening, Captain Jeon gathered all the soldiers on the ground. One by one, he inspected their guns, searching for the one fitted with a silencer, the same kind used to kill Dong Jin. The tension inside the camp only grew heavier. Later that night, Jungkook returned to his office exhausted. But the moment he opened the door, his eyes softened. Taehyung was sleeping quietly in the corner of the room, hugging a pillow close to himself. His soft breaths filled the silent room. Jungkook stared at him for a moment before slowly walking closer. Without waking him up, he carefully lifted Taehyung into the bed inside the office. For a few seconds, Jungkook simply stood there. He didn't understand this strange feeling inside his chest. It was unfamiliar to him. But as he looked at Taehyung sleeping peacefully under the dim light, one thought stayed in his mind. Beautiful. The night passed slowly. The next morning, Taehyung stretched lazily on bed, still half asleep. His vision was blurry as he slowly opened his eyes. A figure was standing in front of him. Captain Jeon. Taehyung immediately sat up in surprise. Before realizing where he was, his cheeks slowly turned pink. Then another thought crossed his mind. If I slept on the bed, then where did Jungkook sleep? A shy smile appeared on Taehyung's face. He quickly grabbed the first aid kit from the table, bowed softly to Jungkook, and prepared to leave the office for home. That night, Taehyung sat alone inside his room with a bright smile on his face because somehow he had successfully sneaked Jungkook's purple notebook out of the office. Taehyung quickly locked the door and sat on the bed excitedly before opening the notebook carefully. The first few pages were filled with quotes. Taehyung blinked in surprise because long ago he had learned those same quotes too, but now he had already almost forgotten all of them. Slowly, he turned another page, and the moment he saw it, his breath stopped. It was him, a perfectly drawn sketch of Taehyung. Every small detail was there, his eyes, his smile, even the tiny expressions on his face. Jungkook had drawn him so carefully that it almost looked alive. Taehyung stared at the drawing silently, completely stunned. His heartbeat became louder. Captain Jeon drew me. His fingers slowly touched the pages softly. Then he quickly flipped through the next page, but this time his expression slowly changed. There were detailed drawing of gun, ornaments, map, and then a sketch of his father's office. Taehyung frowned in confusion. Why would Jungkook draw his father's office so carefully? Before he could think further, a loud sound suddenly came from his father's office downstairs. Taehyung immediately stood up in panic and started running towards the office inside the house. The moment Taehyung reached the office room downstairs, he froze. His father was hitting Yoongi harshly. The sound echoed through the room. "Father, stop!" Taehyung immediately rushed forward and stood between them. "Why are you hitting him?" But his father only looked at them angrily before walking out of the room without another word. The room became silent. Taehyung slowly turned towards Yoongi. There were injuries near his lips and bruises on his face. Taehyung's expression slowly softened. He quietly sat beside Yoongi and asked softly, "Why did father hit you?" Yoongi stayed silent for a second. Then he gave a bitter smile. "Don't you know? I'm not actually your father's son. I am only your mother's child." Taehyung's eyes widened slightly. He wanted to ask more. So many questions filled his mind, but he stopped himself immediately. Because if he asked too much, Yoongi might realize that Taehyung wasn't truly the same Taehyung from this lifetime anymore. So instead, Taehyung quietly opened the first aid kit and started treating Yoongi's wound carefully. While cleaning the bruises, Taehyung softly asked, "Why don't you tell mother everything?" Yoongi lowered his eyes. "Because if I tell her, she will divorce your father. And I don't want that." Taehyung immediately stood up in anger. "Still, this isn't right." But suddenly, Yoongi grabbed Taehyung's wrist gently. "It's okay, leave it. He's been eating me for years already. It doesn't hurt much anymore. And he's getting old now." Taehyung slowly looked at Yoongi quietly. Then Yoongi smiled softly, "But honestly, I'm happy these days." Taehyung blinked in confusion. The old 18-year-old Taehyung always fought with me. He never spoke to me this warmly, but now you actually feel like my brother. Taehyung's eyes softened hearing that, and slowly he smiled back. "That's all in the past now. Now it's us." And that exact moment, Jenny suddenly peeked through the doorway dramatically. "Oh, you both are talking without including me too?" She frowned playfully before turning around and walking away. And for the first time in a long while, the room finally felt warm again. The next day, Taehyung quietly entered Captain Jeon's office once again. Jungkook was completely focused on the typewriter in front of him, the sound of the keys filling in the room softly. While Jungkook stayed distracted with his work, Taehyung carefully walked towards a shelf and secretly placed the wired notebook back exactly where it belonged. Thankfully, Jungkook didn't notice at all. Taehyung let out a relieved sigh before walking closer to the desk. "Captain Jeon," Jungkook hummed softly without looking up. Today's a holiday anyway, Taehyung said excitedly. The festival started in the central, and I want to go. Finally, Jungkook looked up slightly. But not alone, Taehyung added quickly. So you should come with me. Jungkook sighed quietly before returning his attention back to the typewriter. I am busy today. I need to finish this work. I can't lose concentration right now. Taehyung instantly pouted in disappointment. But even while staring at the annoyed captain, one thought crossed Taehyung's mind. How can a man look this handsome while typing? After a few more seconds of sulking, Taehyung quietly left the office. He stood outside in the hallway with crossed arms. That's when Namjoon, J-Hope and Bogum walked past him. Taehyung, J-Hope smiled brightly. We are going to the festival at the central. You coming with us? Bogum nodded too. Come with us if you want. Taehyung was just about to answer when suddenly the office door behind him opened. Jungkook stepped out calmly. Let's go together. Everyone turned towards him in surprise. Jungkook then looked directly at Taehyung. I thought you were coming with me, Mr. Kim. Bogum blinked in confusion and was about to speak again. But J-Hope immediately dragged both Namjoon and Bogum away with him. Okay, bye! J-Hope laughed awkwardly while disappearing down the hallway. Now only Taehyung and Jungkook remained there. Jungkook simply adjusted his coat slightly. Let's go, Mr. Kim. And then he started walking ahead calmly. Meanwhile, Taehyung stayed frozen in the hallway, his cheeks almost turned red. What is wrong with him? 5 minutes ago he said he was too busy. And now suddenly he wants to come with me?